There are 5 stages while reading an Abby Jimenez book. But wait, there's more. A year has passed. Abby Jimenez has put out a new release called Say You'll Remember Me. We're also going to be talking about her new short story, which was also released in 2025, The Fall Risk. So it's time to do a little update. Don't worry, there's chapters at the bottom so you can see what I've added since my last video. There have been new revelations thanks to many of your comments in the past year. So I couldn't wait to update this. Now back to last year's skit, which I think is still fitting. There are 5 stages while reading an Abby Jimenez book. Stage 1, it's the beginning. It's cute and funny and it is reeling you in. Stage 2, the tension is killing you. Could this slow burn get any slower or any burnier? Stage 3, they're together. It's all hearts and flowers. You've noticed that colors are deeper, everything's sharper, and you hear romantic music at all times. Stage 4, tragedy strikes. There's a breakup. You vow to yourself that you will never read Abby Jimenez again. Stage 5, the epic finale. Everyone's happier than they've ever been. It's the best Abby Jimenez you've ever read. You put the book down and begin your countdown for next year. Hi, my name's B. Welcome to my channel, Mama Needs to Read Romance, and tell you everything I know about Abby Jimenez. We're going to be talking about some of the best things about each of these books. I'm going to share some GOODREADS ratings behind the scenes, Easter eggs, and only some spoilery type things meant for people that have already read the book at the very end. So don't worry, most of this video is spoiler free. Let's get started. Let's start with the first book of the Friend Zone series, her very first novel published in 2019, The Friend Zone. This stars Josh and Kristen, with secondary, strongly featured characters Sloane and Brandon, who are going to be getting married. Josh is Brandon's best friend and Kristen is Sloane's best friend. But unfortunately, initially, Josh and Kristen really get off on the wrong foot. But their meet cute is also hilarious. Our guys, Brandon and Josh, are both super hot, former Marines turned firefighters. And Josh and Kristen have to play nice until the wedding, which is not easy to do, especially given their attraction. But there's the problem. This is a forbidden romance because Kristen has a boyfriend. Now, he's also a Marine, he's overseas, and she is doing everything in her power to deny the magnetic pull that she feels for Josh. There's another huge obstacle, and that Josh really wants a huge family of his own, but Kristen has dealt with fertility issues her entire life, and Josh isn't aware. Her big secret could be a deal breaker for them. So this book actually has the lowest score on Goodreads with a 3.89. People typically have trouble with the big twist at the end, as well as some people had a hard time with Kristen because, as I mentioned, she has a boyfriend. So there's some trickiness there. My score was 4 stars out of 5. I did enjoy it because I love a good forbidden romance, and the tension and the slow burn buildup with this forbidden romance was chef's kiss. The other reason I wasn't able to give this a full 5 stars is because something major happens, check your trigger warnings, that absolutely ripped my heart out. It was one of the toughest scenes I've read in a contemporary romance, and I tend to go for more of the lighthearted, but I do enjoy some of the mainstream contemporary romances, and this one was the hardest one to get through. Kristen is pretty stubborn, but thank goodness Josh is the cinnamoniest cinnamon roll hero around, which more than makes up for it. Now let's talk about some non-spoiler Easter eggs in this book. Sloane, who is Kristen's best friend, becomes obsessed with a song by musician Jackson Waters, who becomes very important later on in the series. Also, Lola Simone is mentioned for the first time. She is a Britney Spears or Lady Gaga type musician who is at this point known for being sort of a mess, I guess, but she's also hugely popular. Not only that, we see Nadia Cakes for the very first time, and Nadia Cakes is actually the name of Abby Jimenez's real-life bake shop chain. This author used to be on the Food Network. In fact, she is a former winner of a Food Network show. Now she's a celebrated author and owns her own line of cupcake shops. And so Nadia Cakes you see featured in every single one of her books. Erin Mallon makes her first appearance as a female narrator for this book, as well as Teddy Hamilton, who is quite well known. This is the only book that Teddy Hamilton narrates because soon you'll see who comes along, and that gentleman has narrated everything since to perfection. We will talk more about him in a moment. Goodreads nominated The Friend Zone for Best Romance and Best Debut Novel in 2019, and it lost in both of those categories to Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I have not read that one, but I have heard excellent things about both the book and the movie. By the way, I get that Goodreads is not the be-all end-all. It's just an opinion. I thought you might find it interesting to know. Now let's talk about book 2 in the Friend Zone series, the Happy Ever After playlist. This stars Jason, also known as Jackson Waters to his fans, and Sloane Monroe, who was heavily featured in the very first book of the series. This is the first time we have a cute dog in the story, and we will then see that in every book from here on out. I think Jimenez loves adding dogs as she's a dog fan herself. Update. I cannot believe I did not mention Stuntman Mike from The Friend Zone. That is the adorable dog that Kristen owns, who gets to wear all her cute little dog outfits. How did I forget to mention that? Thank you so much, author Jessica Hoops, for keeping me in line. This one features a super fun meet cute involving the dog. See, Jackson Waters is a famous musician. He's out traveling and she takes his dog in and decides to keep him. Once he's finally able to get reception again, he gets in touch with her and tries to get his dog back. Well, they start to connect via text and then phone calls, and then they are in person, and it is just the yummiest, most delicious slow burn. I love the way that Jimenez writes their relationship and the way that it builds. But Sloane's having a hard time. She's been nursing a broken heart. Thankfully, though, it gives Jason the opportunity to be a gorgeous caretaker, which we all love. He's yet another cinnamon roll hero. We will see that in all of the Abby Jimenez books. They fall deeply, madly in love, but the question is, can their love overcome his rise to superstardom? Also, I forgot to mention this in my slides, but I love how this book includes songs that you can listen to that vibe well with each chapter. The Goodreads score for this one is a 4.17, so great increase from the last book. My score was 4.5 stars. I originally gave this 5 stars, but Jason's temper towards the end, we have a third act breakup, which you will see in all of the Abby Jimenez books. She's very open about the fact that she loves to write them. His temper did get to me a little bit. I found the epic ending to be fantastic, and we shall see there's pretty much an epic ending for all of these where you're just whooping and cheering and giving a standing ovation that no one will see. We also find the very first pairing of the very perfect Zachary Weber and Aaron Mallon as narrators. I love them so much. In fact, I've taken the time to physically read and listen to each of the books, and there's just something special about both kinds. So I highly recommend listening, especially if you've never listened to Zachary Weber before. Oh my gosh, he's fantastic. And so is Aaron Mallon. Update. Abby Jimenez relates in an interview that she wrote the Happy Ever After playlist before The Friend Zone, and that her publishers believed it would be a great start for her to write a story involving Kristen and Josh, which is where we got The Friend Zone. Thanks so much to Cynthia Brew for giving us that fun fact. Talking about our non-spoiler Easter eggs, we see Nadia Cakes featured again, not only as a place that makes treats for dogs, but also something that has treats that pregnant women crave, which I thought was so cute. Lola Simone, who we only briefly get a glimpse of in the first book, is featured in this story as a cautionary tale for what can happen to musicians who aren't supported in the way they should be. She and Jason actually have quite the tumultuous relationship, so we get a lot of Lola Simone in this story. We also find Sloane going on a date with Adrian Copeland, who is Josh's cousin, Josh Copeland, the hero of The Friend Zone, and we will see more of Adrian Copeland in the future. The craziest Easter egg, which I'm going to tell you now, but will not ruin anything for you, I promise. We don't find out until yours truly that when Jason hurts his hand, he is visited by a doctor. This doctor, we find out in yours truly, is none other than Dr. Jacob Maddox, who is featured in this book. How cool. Just like the previous book, this one was nominated for Best Romance in 2020, but it lost to From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have not read Jennifer L. Armentrout, but I've heard a lot of good things about this author. Talking about book 3, the final book of the Friend Zone series, Life's Too Short. This features Adrian Copeland, as I mentioned, cousin to Josh Copeland from the very first book, and Vanessa Price. We see one of them fostering a geriatric dog and one fostering a baby. They happen to be neighbors who wind up helping one another as they get through fostering. It was hilarious. He's a workaholic who's never really lived, and she's a woman who only wants to live her best life with whatever time she has left, because this is a pretty intense book due to the fact that Vanessa may have a debilitating disease that has taken the lives of her sister, mother, and aunt at the age of 30. Now, she is about 29, so she thinks she has about a year to live, so she is not dating, despite the fact that she and Adrian feel a very strong connection to one another. Now, this book was more fade to black than any of the other books. None of them are particularly spicy, but in my mind, the chemistry in the slow burn and the swoon, which is what it's all about, you will find in spades in all of these books, but this one is the least spicy of the 6. The Goodreads score for this one is a 4.18, and I gave this a perfect 5 stars. This is my very favorite found family book that I have ever read. I laughed harder than I've ever laughed in any other Jimenez book, and unfortunately I also cried harder than I have in any other Jimenez book. It delivered all of those gorgeous feels, and I just found this to be my favorite of this particular series. So for some fun non-spoiler Easter eggs, Vanessa owns a Sloane Monroe painting. Sloane Monroe, of course, somewhat featured in the Friend Zone, but especially featured in the Happy Ever After playlist. We see that her art career is doing very well. We get major cameos from the 2 other couples from the first 2 books, Josh and Kristen, and Sloane and Jason. Such a fun gathering of friends. And of course, what Abby Jimenez book would be complete without Nadia Cakes? Adrian decides to celebrate Vanessa's birthday by getting her a cupcake from Nadia Cakes. Also, I believe one of the things they bond over is their love of Lola Simone music. Also, I just realized I forgot to include this in my slides. I love how each chapter begins with a clickbaity type surprise title, which is so fun to read, especially when Zachary Weber does it if you're listening to the audio. And like the other 2 books in the series, this one was nominated for Best Romance in 2021, but it lost to The People We Meet on Vacation. I read that book and enjoyed it, and I also gave it 5 stars. Now we're going to shift gears into the second series Jimenez wrote, the Part of Your World series, and we start with book 1, Part of Your World. This features Daniel and Alexis, and a baby goat that is adorable, in addition to a cute dog, of course. These 2 have a one-night stand that leads to far more than either of them bargained for. It's set in a small town that we wind up visiting quite a bit in future books. And this book actually contains magical elements, namely within the town. The town itself seems to have a mind of its own and gets what it wants. Daniel and Alexis are a match made in heaven, except for the fact that they are definitely from different worlds, hence Part of Your World. She is a doctor with a very high stress position in a hospital royaume, which we will be seeing quite a bit in this series. She's from the big city, whereas Daniel is mayor of his adorable small town. Again, we have a super cinnamon roll hero in Daniel. I love him so much. He's one of my book boyfriends. The Goodreads score for this book is a 4.31. My score is, again, a perfect 5 stars. Now, initially I gave this 6 stars, but on my 3rd read through, because I've read this book 3 times, I actually marked it down to 5 because Alexis sort of bothered me a little bit here and there, because again, Daniel is absolutely perfect, but sometimes Alexis could be a little short-sighted, in my personal opinion. I did love this book so much that I begged my husband to get me the Steambox version, which I will show you now. As you know, if you've been on my channel before, I use pretty much any opportunity to show this off. We see Daniel and Alexis just looking absolutely gorgeous, and the petals that are floating around them just like they do in the book, it's just takes my breath away. We also get a chance to see his cute dog and baby goat, which are highly featured in the book, and I just couldn't be more happy to have this version as well as the regular version. Not everybody's aware, but there is an additional short story that Abby Jimenez has released periodically through her newsletter called All Roads Lead to Here, which features 2 characters from the book Part of Your World. I will mention that a little bit more in the spoiler section of the video. I'm really looking forward to getting the Target version of Just for the Summer because it will contain a special bonus chapter which finds Doug finding the love of his life. And Doug, by the way, is one of Daniel's best friends, and he is a hoot and a half. He is known for playing More Than Words by Extreme on his guitar badly in order to try to woo women. It's terrific. Of course, we get Nadia cakes again. I'll tell you one part of the Nadia cakes fun. I'll save that for the spoiler side. But we also get Nadia cakes as being one of the benefits of big city life, that you are near a Nadia cakes. Blink and you'll miss it. Daniel mentions that his cousin is Josh Copeland, which means that Adrian Copeland is also his cousin. Not only that, another blink and you miss it moment. There's a big anniversary gala held for the Rayum Hospital, which is attended by a lifestyle vlogger who is all about ALS research. And that, of course, is Vanessa Price, who is the featured heroine in Life's Too Short. Update. The lawyer who Adrian works with in Life's Too Short is actually the husband, the terrible husband in the awful marriage between Marcus and Jessica of Part of Your World, and yours truly. Who would have thought that would have been an Easter egg? But it is. And like with Jimenez's 3 previous books, it was nominated for Best Romance of the Year in 2022, but it lost again to Emily Henry with her book Book Lovers, which I really enjoyed and also gave 5 stars. And now let's talk about last year's big smash hit, Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This book features Dr. Jacob and Dr. Bree. We first meet Bree as Alexis's best friend in Part of Your World, but now she gets her own book, which I was so excited to read. This is the first book I actually got the advanced reader's copy for. This is an enemies to lovers book. They get off on the wrong foot and then some. He enters her hospital. She believes that he's there partly to take her promotion, but she realizes quickly, though, that he is such a sweet person, and she decides to become friends with him and is more than happy to fake date him when he needs her help because his ex-girlfriend is going to be marrying his brother. So we have a workplace romance, or is it? Because it's fake, but how fake is it really? Jacob has a lot of anxiety that he learns to deal with, and in the process teaches the reader all about empathy and what it's like to live with a great deal of anxiety. As I mentioned, there's a cinnamon roll hero in every Abby Jimenez book, but this one is on steroids. I have never seen anyone so selfless as Dr. Jacob Maddox. He is incredibly dear. We're also treated to masterful performances by Kyla Garcia and Zachary Weber again. This was the first one that Erin Mallon didn't do, but I love that they chose to feature a woman of Hispanic heritage when Bree is of Hispanic heritage as well. The Goodreads score for this book is a 4.33. My score is 5 stars. Now, actually, I gave this a 4.5 stars initially, but on a reread, I changed it to 5. And I actually do think that because when I reread it, I listened to the audio, I think that Zachary Weber and Kyla Garcia really took this up to the next level, overcame my little pet peeves. I originally read this arc in about 24 hours. I was that obsessed. It was that good. Some non-spoiler Easter eggs. We see Nadia cakes again, as always. This time, Bree gives Jacob a tip that if he wants the people at the hospital to like him, being the new guy, he needs to bring them Nadia cakes. We also see it as a wedding cake. Jessica also returns. She is a not too great friend of Alexis's and Bree's who works in the hospital, and we are treated to more interesting facts and telling it like it is from our friend Jessica. We also get plenty of Waukon goodness, Waukon being the small town that we are introduced to and fall in love with in Part of Your World. I love to see Bree visit that town and get to see Daniel and Alexis in all of their glory. Not only do we get to see them, we also get to see Daniel's friend Doug, who is hilarious as always. Bree mentions that her favorite vlogger is none other than Vanessa Price, who of course is our heroine in Life life's too short. And as I mentioned earlier, we find out in this book that Jacob was the doctor who treated Jackson Waters when he hurt his hand in the Happy Ever After playlist. Update. I have to include an incredible comment by Healing Harmonies Meditation, who let us know that when Jacob is going through Bree's phone, he finds a picture of her dressed in a gorgeous gown from 7 months prior. That is at the Quasquicentennial, the epic finale in the book Part of Your World. As with the previous 4 books in the Jimenez universe, this one was nominated for Best Romance in 2023, but it lost to Emily Henry again with Happy Place, which I really enjoyed and wound up giving 6 stars. And now let's head to the present with Just for the Summer. This is book 3 of the Part of Your World series, featuring Emma and Justin, with the most unusual circumstances surrounding their meet cute for both Emma and Justin. Every time they wind up breaking up, the person that breaks up with them, the next person their ex-partner dates, winds up being the love of their life. So the two of them decide to try to date just to test a theory. If they break up with each other, maybe the next person that they both end up with will wind up being the loves of their lives, because they're tired of getting broken up with only to see their exes find true love next. Did that make sense? So this is sort of like fake dating. They weren't supposed to do it right away, but the connection they feel online and then via text and then through phone is something that can't be denied. While they're having fun and starting to fall in love, we do find that both of them have some pretty serious issues going on with their mothers. She is reluctant to fall in love, while he is a saint. As always, he's a cinnamon roll hero. And another thing I love about this book is all of the caretaking they do, either physically or emotionally. Update, I have to read this incredible Easter egg. Talk about a deep, deep dive. Thanks to Brianna Sanchez, who shares, I found an Easter egg that blew my mind. Celeste, Josh's ex at the very beginning of the friend zone, dated Brad, Justin and Benny's best friend in Yours Truly and Just for the Summer. This is confirmed by Justin when he says he was always roommates with Brad, except when he dated someone named Celeste for a few months. Get out of town. So cool. And you know who else helped us with that one? Kimberly Foucher. Thank you so much for being able to help us out with this deep cut. The Goodreads score for this so far is a 4.69, keeping in mind that right now everybody who's read it is an Abby Jimenez superfan who has gotten the advanced reader's copy. My score for this was a 6-star rating. I found this to be so perfect that I would almost be concerned that Abby Jimenez would say, that's it, I can't do better, that's all. Especially considering how beautifully she tied in pieces from her other books and just the way that this was so satisfying and fulfilling. It was just perfection. I did not cry, believe it or not, despite the fact that other people online have been saying they've cried for hours, and Abby Jimenez eats it up. She loves hearing that. She beautifully ties in elements from the Jimenez universe in this book, which I just loved. I found this to be funny, heartfelt, strong, with a little spice and a lot of delicious slow burn. So for some non-spoiler Easter eggs, Justin wears a Jackson Waters from Happy Ever After playlist t-shirt because he's a Jackson Waters fan. Justin and Emma bond over their Spotify playlists, both of which include songs by Lola Simone. Jacob and Brianna from Yours Truly make an adorable cameo in this book. I adored it so much, and I could tell Abby Jimenez really enjoyed writing them into the plot. Justin and his siblings cook at one point using a Sloan Monroe crock pot cookbook. Sloan Monroe being the artist but also cook featured in the Happy Ever After playlist. Walk On, the small town, is again heavily featured, including dragonflies from the story. And as I mentioned, this town is special and magical and uses nature to make its point. And it was noted in Part of Your World that dragonflies are a symbol of new life, transformation, and change, and we see them in spades in this book. We also get treated to a lot of Daniel and Alexis goodness. Maddie and Emma wind up in Neil's cottage. That's right, Neil Rasmussen, who was Alexis's boyfriend that everyone loved to hate in Part of Your World. Not only that, Maddie and Emma wind up working with Neil in surgery at Roy Hume Hospital. We also get to see another person who was heavily featured in Yours Truly, Hector, who has a really cute part in Yours Truly, and now he is working with Maddie and Emma at royaume. And Justin's best friend is Benny, who is the brother of Bree in Yours Truly. Not only that, we get to meet Benny's cat all over again when Justin and Emma are out on a date. Update. I want to thank Kay Ziender for the really neat Easter egg of the baby raccoons that Justin's mom and her friend rescue in Just for the Summer. We also see, I believe, is it a raccoon that Jacob grabs, unfortunately, who is no longer with us, to give to his father, who's really interested in taxidermy. Not my favorite scene, by the way. As we may remember from Part of Your World, the raccoon is what starts everything for Alexis and Daniel when she swerves to avoid a raccoon as she's heading through town and then needs Daniel to help her. And I do believe a raccoon was the groom's cake, made of course by Nadia Cakes, at Daniel and Alexis's wedding. I'm gonna have to look for raccoons from now on in these books. Not like out and about. Okay, anyway, moving on. Will Just for the Summer be nominated for Best Romance of 2024? I believe it will. But will it win? If what's past is prologue, it might end up losing to Emily Henry's Funny Story, which is coming out April 23rd. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's talk about The Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez, which was, guess what? You'll never believe, her offering for the Improbable Meet Cute series. I enjoyed many aspects of this. We again, as usual, have a cinnamon roll hero in an Abby Jimenez tale. She's dealing with the dying and death of her grandmother during this short Valentine's Day novella, which was really heavy, but I found it to be adorable how we start off with our hero puts a note in our heroine's windshield thinking she's someone else, and the note was pretty inappropriate. And he then realizes his mistake, apologizes via more notes in her windshield. They wind up passing notes back and forth and develop an affection for one another that is eventually realized in the end of the story. So it was fun and it was deep, but it was a little bit rough. And now let's talk about the brand new one, Say You'll Remember Me, published in 2025. This is definitely not part of the Part of Your World series. It's a brand new series that's connected very loosely to the other books. It's my hope, given all the new fun characters that we're introduced to, that this will be the start of another long series where we find Easter egg after Easter egg of how these characters are connected. I have to say I'm not too surprised that she didn't connect this book as closely with her previous ones, because Just for the Summer felt like the perfect bow was tied around all of these books, the way they were connected. This one stars Xavier and Samantha. Xavier is the seemingly curmudgeonly, hard-hearted veterinarian who encounters Samantha one day when she's attempting to rescue a kitten that she's found. It does not go well. Xavier realizes maybe they didn't get off to the right foot, so when he's given another opportunity to make things up to Samantha, he takes it. They hit it off immediately, but unfortunately, Samantha is moving home, which is 2,000 miles away in California. How are they going to make it work? Especially when there are more trigger warnings than you can shake a stick at in this book. This one was the hardest for me to get through, as tough as the very first book she ever published, The Friend Zone. But the payoff at the end, the idea that even though life can be very challenging and difficult and murky, it can still give us moments of joy and bliss, but we have to be open to them. To give you a bit of a sense of some of the tough stuff in this book without giving anything away, Samantha's main issue is that she's dealing heavily with her mother's dementia. Her whole family is being impacted and they're all trying to do their best, but it is tough to get through. Xavier is also dealing with narcissistic parents who are really toxic, but it's the care that they feel for one another that really brings us through the story. And I love that that's never in question. As I'm filming this, the book has really only been out for 3 days, so it only has roughly 9,000 reviews, but it has a 4.46 on Goodreads, which is pretty good. We'll see what happens over time. My score was 5 stars, although I really vacillated between 4.5 or 5 stars, just because of how difficult this was and some things that didn't feel like they needed to happen to some of the members of the family. It was like, are we really getting thrown this as well, Abby? Come Come on. I was really nervous, honestly, about reading this when I found out it had to do with a mother with dementia, because my mother is borderline dementia. And yes, this was somewhat triggering for me, but I think overall, the hopefulness that this author gives us is something that gets us through. I loved how the characters grew and how they really tried to make things work despite everything that was against them. Now let's talk about some non-spoiler Easter eggs. There aren't any spoiler Easter eggs, really. The big thing that happens in this book actually calls us back to Just for the Summer. In Just for the Summer, at one point, Emma and Justin are going about their merry way, enjoying a day out together, when Emma finds a woman who seems to be lost and confused. And so Emma grabs this woman's phone with her permission and says, "Hey, can I call your family member?" And it happens to be Samantha. Emma makes sure that Samantha over the phone knows where Samantha's mother is, and they make sure that she is returned, if you will, to her daughter safely. This incident is remembered from Samantha's point of view in Say You'll Remember Me. Aside from that, the only Easter eggs that I found were mentions of, you guessed it, Nadia cakes. Now, if what is past is prologue, this book will be nominated for Best Romance in 2025, but will lose to Emily Henry's book, which is coming out later this spring, Great Big Beautiful Life. I haven't had the pleasure of reading that yet, but I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Let's talk about Abby Jimenez's short story, The Fall Risk, which was published in February of 2025. I enjoyed this book immensely. It's amazing what a good author can do with a short story. Seth and Charlotte are two people licking very different wounds, metaphorically speaking. They live on the second floor of a walk-up. Neither of them would ever have spoken to the other one because they are just holed up in their apartments until one Friday afternoon, their stairwell is ripped away from their building and they have no choice but to commiserate over the weekend until the stairwell can be replaced. I so enjoyed the chemistry of these two adorable people. This book was far more dark and even scary than I would have expected, but just like the worst wingman ever, we take some heavy topics and put them in a short story. So, okay, Abby Jimenez. I see what you're doing, and I know what to expect with whatever next short story you put out. This one's super, super light on spice, but heavy on chemistry, and I love what the author did with the title. This book's only been out for less than 2 months at the time of filming this. It's got over 100,000 ratings, though, on GOODREADS, and a score of 4.13. Not too shabby. I gave this 5 stars. I don't think there wasn't a moment where I wasn't smiling or ready to smile. Well, except when it was a little scary and exciting, but that was fun too. We even have 2 side characters who sort of hit it off, which is extra fun. And of course, we need to talk about some non-spoiler Easter eggs. I love how Abby Jimenez connected The Fall Risk to The Worst Wingman Ever, her other big short story, because we have John and Holly, our main characters from The Worst Wingman Ever, who come to Charlotte and Seth's aid at one point. Additionally, we of course are treated to delicious Nadia cupcakes. And now for some spoilery Easter eggs. This is your chance to click off. If you haven't read the books yet, go ahead and take your leave. We will look forward to seeing you in a future video. Alexis's brother Derek marries Nikki, who is actually Lola Simone. Now, we don't get to see Lola Simone in the book. We hear about her, but we do get to meet Alexis's brother Derek, who talks about how he is deeply, deeply in love with her. In fact, the short story released by Abby Jimenez in her newsletter periodically called All Roads Lead to Here does feature the meet cute for Derek and Nikki. Ernie, Lola's manager, attends the wedding, and he is also Jackson Waters' manager, who we get to see quite a bit of in the Happy Ever After playlist. Let's talk a little bit more about Nadia Cakes and how they're featured. Nadia Cakes gets to make the groom's cake for Daniel at the wedding, and it is, of course, a raccoon, because in the beginning of the story, it's the raccoon that sets everything into motion when our gal Alexis steers off the road in order to avoid a raccoon and winds up needing to be rescued by Daniel. Justin's best friend, Benny, the brother of Bree in Yours Truly, is dating Jane, who is Jacob's sister in Yours Truly. So years later, they are still together. Neil, who is of course Alexis's ex-boyfriend from Part of Your World, the man who everyone loves to hate, actually finds closure in his relationship with Amber. Now here's something I never saw coming. Amber is not only Emma's mother, but she's also Daniel's mother from Part of Your World. I even knew that his mother's name was Amber, and I never put those pieces together. And when I discovered that Amber was Emma's mom and Daniel's mom, I just about fell out of my chair. I gasped. I could not believe it. So of course this means that Emma's half-brother is Daniel, but it also means that her half-cousins are none other than Josh and Aaron Copeland. And also Doug, Daniel's good friend from Part of Your World, who we also see in Yours Truly, winds up getting married to Maddie, who is Emma's best friend. We get a hint of the fact that they're dating in the book. We wind up finding out that they've gotten married in the epilogue, but we don't really get to see Doug and Maddie together. However, when the Just for the Summer Target version comes out on April 2nd, it's going to contain a bonus chapter featuring the meet cute of Doug and Maddie, and I can't wait. Well, that is it for me. I had so much fun sharing these with you. I hope this was a fun resource either to relive all the fun, find out things you never realized, or helped you know that now you're ready to read Abby Jimenez for the first time. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of her, what your favorite book is, or if you're looking forward to reading her for the first time. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's an Abby Jimenez book or not. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.